Welcome, everybody, to the Christ Lutheran podcast. It's a little rainy morning today, and it's been a little bit of a hectic week, but we're here. And I'm here with Tom Shields, a man who, welcome, by the way, Mr. Shields.
Thank you.
Yeah, so glad to have you here in the podcast, going out to our Christ Lutheran community and family, whoever may want to watch. And so we met about a year ago, I guess. We got here, my wife and I, right?
Right.
Yeah. We got here, I think, in November of last year, 23, I guess. And you and your wife have been a joy to us, Annis, and we sit together right there in the front row. Yeah. And you may wonder, you as the viewer, or maybe Tom, why are we talking? Why do you have me here? Well, the intention that I have with this podcast is to talk to men and women who I admire, and I admire you, Tom. And I want to get to know you, and for the viewers to also get to know why you serve the way you do. So I wanted to start with a little bit of your background, where you grew up, and how was your family life when you first started?
Well, I grew up in the city of Utica. Okay. My father was working for a gas company at that time before he moved to the farm. So the first 8 years of my life, we lived in Utica, New York, and I attended Sacred Heart Catholic School.
Yeah.
Elementary grades through the third grade, and then he bought a farm up in Marcy, New York, and that's where we moved to. And I went to the Central School. And so I stayed on the farm until I was 21, when the family farms were kind of disappearing. My dad's expectations was I would join him in the farm, but it was not feasible financially at that time. So I went into the Air Force and for 4 years enlisted and had a lot of electronic training. And when I got out, I had a job. So I went back to college. And
no problem. You can take that or get
no, we'll put it down.
No problem.
So I went back to college and got my degree, and then I got a master's degree. So I graduated from Syracuse University and Southern Cal, and through the benefits of being in the Air Force.
Right.
That was a big help. So, and Annis and I got married in 1967. And we have 4 children, all very successful in their jobs, in their life, and their faith life. So I think what you want to talk to me about is my life experiences of the last few years.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about that because I have a trainer that comes and works with me, and she said, God only gives you the amount that you can handle at a time. So I got thinking about that, and then she agreed when I told her. It was in 1998, I was working in the lab. I was managing the research programs in the laboratory, and I became jaundice. So they sent me to the family doctor. The family doctor sent me to a specialist, and the specialist said, well, you've got blockage in your bile duct, so we got to remove those. So when they did the pre-test, all the testing and what you had to do to confirm that, there was no gallstones. They couldn't find it. But the bilirubin and the pancreatic amounts that should be were excessively high. So they were very high. So for 2.5 weeks, they tried all kinds of things with diet and medicine. And then one night the doctor came in and he said, there's nothing I can do for you. He says, I said, well, what can you do? He said, we could send you to Pittsburgh and maybe they can do a liver transplant. Well, in 1988, there was a lot of pieces of liver type and also total, but they were not very long longevity. So it was very down at that time, but with faith, I don't know why, but I just accepted it. Okay, that's the next thing. Well, the next morning he come in and he says, "Mr. Shields, your levels are back to normal. I can't tell you why." It was amazing. So that was, but then they continually do testing and all that. Finally, I got back to work. But the question they most asked me each time I went in for a test is, "Mr. Shields, do you drink?" And I had explained to him each time, "No, I don't drink. I have a drink, but I don't drink. I'm not an alcoholic," because that's a symptom of yellow Johnson's.
Right.
So to this day, they can't explain. If I had asked the doctor, they wouldn't know why it was a. So as my trainer said, that was like a small thing, something you could handle. He was working with you, but you could only handle so much.
Right.
So then 2015, I was scheduled for something.
Yeah.
Scheduled for a valve replacement. But my friend, who was my cardiologist, he was somebody that would always dig, see what's more. So in digging, he found that I needed a triple bypass also. So then he said, "Well, there's blood in your intestinal area. We got to find what that is." Then he says, "Tom, you've got cancer. And it's stage 3 or stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma." So I says, "Maybe first we could do something," but the doctor said, "No, we'll have to do it." So Dr. Frank, I remembered his name because he was a cancer survivor. Very good gentleman. Yes, because I could talk to him.
Right.
That's why I say it was good. And he said, I'll be very aggressive with the chemo. And he was. I spent 3 weeks after the last chemo thing, weeks of 4 and 5 days with various problems. The first problem was excessive fluid loss in my body. The second time I went back, I had compressive heart failure. And the third time I went back is when I say God interfered. He said, and my pastor at that time, he was there. Pastor Schwant was there with Annis. And he said, "It's all in God's hands now. There's nothing I can do." And I said, "Doctor, I can't swallow. I can't eat." "What?" So he scoped, no, it's ulcerated from the chemo. From then, I was doing, after that, but I was down to the depths.
Right.
But something in my body said, "Speak up, Tom."
Okay.
That's all you can say. Why did I speak up? You just accept what he said. I said, "No, I can't eat. I can't swallow." So again, little things that God can do for you. So I got through that one. Then the next episode is always more.
Try always more.
Trial with more.
Yeah.
So in 2014, this is by the grace of God, all this. I'll go back to the other one. I remember one time I was at the church for a funeral, and a pastor friend of Annis came over. He says, "How you doing, Tom?" I said, with luck, I've been doing very good." He says, "It's not luck, Tom.
That's
it's
right.
by the grace of God
Grace of
that
God.
you're here."
That's right.
So that was kind of a wake-up for me. You know, instead of matter of fact, there's a reason, and the reason, Shelley, is God's interfering.
Yes.
So with the cancer, with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, it can come back after 8 or 9 years. Well, it was 8 years. But I didn't know that. I had to switch doctors because the doctor I had he moved down further. And I don't want to drive way down there, but there was a doctor, Dr. Hamzi, that was in an office on Wednesday on Beach Boulevard. So first thing he did was he set his own profile, who I was.
Right.
So he did full body scan, all kinds of stuff. And I met with him. He says, "Tom, cancer's come back, but I can take care of it." He was very positive.
Okay.
Instead of the chemo like I had to have, it was chemo tablets.
Oh.
So it was not aggressive like that. So why did I change doctors? You think about it. I could have been driven down there. Now that doesn't say Dr. Giammi would
Right.
not have done it, but by changing doctors, he found it, and it's in remission again. And there's a kidding thing about it. I said, well, how long will it last now? He says, probably 1994. Or you're 94. You'll be 94. He said, well, I'm not going to worry about that. Well, of course you can. I can do it again.
That's right.
So positive. So positive.
Yeah.
So how God interrupts and handles things.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it. But if you have faith, you can.
Yeah.
So did I do a lot? I did a lot of faith searching. I did a lot of Bible readings of the Bible all those times.
Yeah.
Various things. But I had a wake-up call by that one pastor who said, Tom, it's not luck. It's by the grace of God. And I've remembered that. And so that's how I've survived it.
Yeah.
But each time was a small, the first one was, they called it small. Second time was very aggressive. I handled it. Didn't think I was going to, but I did.
Yeah.
And the last one, I was very upbeat.
You were.
I was. When he said that, I just, okay, what are we going to do for it?
Yeah. Do you find that all those experiences have helped you become who you are today? And how have those experiences changed you?
Probably the big thing, I don't hesitate to say something about my experiences.
Right.
And I do it in a positive way,
Yeah.
is that God, if you ask God, you can talk to him. And I did a lot of talking. I call it talking.
Right.
It's praying.
Right.
But when I'm walking, I'll talk to him.
Huh.
And if there's issues, I can talk to him about it. Now, do I get immediate response? Nobody got response.
Today, one of the things that I was so impressed by you and your beautiful wife is your love to serve. And your wife literally is helping with the kids. You're here, you help with the food bank, you're in worship, you pray. And yet I find that younger people today get so distracted by all that the world offers. Vacations and work and kids, and nothing bad about that, but sometimes the church takes a back seat for people. What do you think we can do to fix that problem? What do you think can be done so that people can become more committed to Christ?
Well, I'll give you a good idea. Our son and our daughter-in-law, Blair and Terry, attend a church in Frisco, Texas.
Okay.
And it's a startup church. It's a Missouri Synod church that started as a very, very doctrinal.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it didn't survive.
Mhm.
So a few years later, another group said, let us, and I got this from the guy, I talked to the fellow who was the district superintendent. That's how I know this.
Right.
And he says, why don't you let us try a new one so it's more contemporary?
Mm-hmm.
And it grew. They're planting churches around Frisco. So one of the things that they have is small groups, which I think are great. They're small groups of maybe 10 to 12 people. They meet at each other's house and they do a Bible study together. They'll break bread together. We'll call it that way.
That's right.
They break bread together, and then they'll do a Bible study, and each one shares and does it, not one. So it's a sharing of doing it. So it's involvement of everybody, not just you show up to eat
Yeah, and listen.
and listen.
Right.
So you're engaged.
Right.
And I think more engaging things we can offer in our church.
Mm.
And even if it's like one of the ideas I suggested to you, and
Yes.
I suggested to Pastor,
Right.
and I think he's going to use that concept in the spring,
Yes.
is have another type service on maybe Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, depending on what you have to pick the time. And the other thing I used to struggle with back at the church in Hickory is, if it doesn't work, try another thing. But they're the old set. If it doesn't work, you don't do it.
Yeah.
So we can't do it.
Right.
Didn't work.
Right.
No, you modify it.
Right.
So, and it could be a simple thing like this. With it could be you open it to everybody, not
Yes.
just church members.
Right.
There's church members that need it too,
Right.
but also people, parents of the kids in school who are
Yes.
maybe not active in
Yes.
churches.
Of course.
But you could open it up to them. It could be in a very I call it very simple.
Yes.
Sir.
Very simple.
You could have
Yes.
an opening,
Very simple.
a music.
Yeah.
You could have
Yeah.
a message,
Right.
just one with message, similar to the one I think the pastor wants to use, something like that. But you make it at a time that they can be here, and you have somebody to watch the children, because you invite the families to
Got
come.
it. Have that.
I think we need to get back to
Yeah,
that.
have that.
That's missing in churches today. It's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on Sunday, and go home, and then you forget it. So engagement, and there could be other engagements, like I said, with the Bible studies that Blair's group had. And they also have, for women's group, rather than just breaking or drinking tea or whatever, I couldn't think of what to say.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah, right.
retreats.
Okay, tell me about those. What do you mean by retreats?
Okay.
Well,
tell
the
me
retreats
about this. What do you
Blair
mean?
they go to, they meet at a place, and they have there's a topic, and they study it, and engagement.
Yes.
So your conversation, so you learn to know other people in the church,
Yes.
Yeah. rather than
Huge.
yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Huge.
And that's it is easy here. That's why we like our church here.
Yeah.
It's easy. People come up and talk to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the old churches, you
Not so
didn't have
much.
that unless you were family.
That's
Now, if
right.
it's a family church, they all knew each other.
Right.
But if you're not family,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Right.
Then another thing, which I did a lot of back in Hickory, and I did some here until I got sick, is small group Bible studies
Correct.
in the home. And because I'm not
Nitpicking.
not nitpicking,
Yeah.
but most of the ones here are ones that have been groups for years.
Right. I've heard that. Yeah.
Well, how do you?
How do you get in?
Well, I could create one, but I had 5, 6 people. I mean, that was about, and they were until I had that last episode with cancer.
Right.
I couldn't do it.
Right.
So, but they faithful. They'd come on a Friday, and I did various types of Bible studies. Which ones that they liked was I can't think of the name of the one if I had it. It's Men of the Bible and
Okay.
Women of the Bible. You probably would know.
Yeah, I have heard of those.
You have heard of it?
Yes.
They're excellent because, and of course, me being an engineer, I don't change the word, but I don't use questions for, what do you think of today?
Right.
It's great. I want discussion. So I'll rewrite the questions to engage them and let them talk.
Okay. Give me an example. What would be a rewrite?
A good one would be, Jonah and the whale.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What was the example what was God's example to
Right.
the hook, is what
Yeah.
it was with the hook.
Yeah.
And have them, what do you think it's saying?
Yeah.
What is the verse is saying to you?
Awesome.
So,
That's a great
That's-
example.
uh,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
So that's how I did the Bible studies. And
Yeah.
I did it back in Hickory. Pastor's wife said, we got this new Bible study to do. And she says, aren't you going to ask the associate pastor? No, because they won't follow through. I want Tom to do it.
It's so true.
Because Tom will follow through.
Right. Exactly. If you want it done, have the people do it.
Have the people do it.
Yeah, it's
So,
better that way.
so the questions have to be more than the happy. I don't know how
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not asking for your opinion.
Right.
Or how do you feel?
Right.
How does it affect your life?
Correct.
All those type of questions.
Yeah.
How does this affect your life? Have you used this in your life?
Mm-hmm.
That brings out what does it mean,
Yeah.
rather than say, what is it says in here? It was this.
Yeah.
Yes.
They call
Okay.
Yeah, like they call it crank the blank. You just have a blank and you just fill in the answers, which is not very effective. You're nodding and that's all.
It's over and they walk out.
The same way they came in.
Same way. They
Yeah.
walk out.
Well, let's move a little bit to worship and music. You know, we were talking a little bit before we started about hymns that we both love. Tell me about your musical enjoyment journey. When did that start? Your love for music and, of course, for the hymns.
Well, my first choir was at St. Leo's Catholic Church. I was in a
Yes.
choir. I've
Oh,
always
you
been
were in the choir.
I was in the choir
there
at
you
church.
go.
So, and of course, it's very liturgical
Yes.
music. So I have a love for liturgical
Mm-hmm.
music. And
Yes.
in the Lutheran Church, there's so much.
Amazing.
And they're Christian hymns.
Correct.
They're not just Lutheran hymns. People
Right.
think they're just Lutheran.
Yeah.
No, they're Christian hymns.
Yes.
And a lot of them are just experiences of life of the person that writes the music.
Yep.
And that's why it's so great. It's like the one I sang a solo of back in Hickory. One was, it's an Irish hymn, In Christ Alone.
Oh, sure. In
Three
Christ
verses.
alone, my hope is on.
That's so beautiful. There's so many hymns like that because you hear it, the words, they affect you.
Oh,
That's why I like when you end a service with a hymn
oh,
sometime
no doubt.
because they're such beautiful hymns.
Incredible.
And so I think it needs to be brought, even though it's a contemporary service,
Yeah.
you can interject that because that's also if somebody's a visitor. And if you say we're a liturgical church,
Mm-hmm.
it impacts them that, oh, you mean, yeah, your music is liturgical.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
One of my favorites is Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. I love that one.
well, the
Just
one you said your
my grandmother, great
Your
is thy
grandmother.
faithfulness. Yeah.
great is
Great is thy faithfulness.
Faithfulness.
Yeah. Morning by morning.
Morning by
Lamentations. Yeah. New mercies I see.
they're in the back, 900s. There's some beautiful ones in the 900s.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, I love that hymnal that we have there in front of us.
Yeah.
And that's why I love using it. I know we have the slides and the words.
But it's so
It's something
if you pick up-
beautiful.
because you always pick the hymnal up.
Of course. And the words are
The
there.
words are there.
And you can look at that. The music is there. Whether you read music or not doesn't matter. You see that this is a musical piece. It's not just something on a screen.
Maybe a good approach is that the last one, instead of that putting up there, this is going to be hymn number 789. Would
I'm
you
all for
open
it.
up your hymnal
I'm all for
and
it.
then you don't have it on the screen?
I am all for it. I
think
love
that's
that.
a suggestion.
I love that suggestion, and I try to do that, and then the guys are like, "Let's put it on the slides." I'm like, "Oh boy!" So I have to tell them, "Don't put it up.
Don't
there.
put it,
Just put the hymn number." And
because
let
then they
people-
open the hymnal and
Yes.
they say, wow, there's a lot of music in here.
You know what I love also about the Bibles? You know, they have the readings in the back, the antiphonal readings. One of the things I'm going to do one of these Sundays, just watch, is I'm going to have them open the hymnal and do a reading together. You know, like we do for the Lord's Prayer or
Right.
for the different readings, but to actually use the back of the hymnal for those readings, like call and response.
Yeah,
Anything to get people talking, speaking the Word of God,
yeah,
singing, it's going to stick.
yeah.
And it's going to stick in here.
Well, you got to do both. Reading, thinking, it's all part of it.
So part of it, yeah. Movement, you know, you dance, you feel good. Your mind, your heart, your soul, your body.
That'd be like a liturgical dance.
Well, exactly. I mean, you know, way back,
Way back they did it.
they
I mean,
did that. Of course they did.
Yeah, it might be something. I mean, these are all things you can try. If they don't work, you don't do it.
Or that, like you were saying, the Saturday night, if it's something simple,
Something
that
simple.
can be
You
the,
could
you
try
can
things at that.
introduce it there.
You could do a lot of introduction of things.
See if it works.
See if it works.
Doesn't
Because
work?
that's a whole new group of people. It's
Yeah,
not,
they're more
oh
open.
my goodness,
Yeah.
he's doing the same thing we did for years.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I'm going to do a song this Sunday that I wrote about the LA fires and about the ashes, and how now that we're coming up on Lent, it's ironic how, of course, Ash Wednesday is about ashes and Lent, and how there's this connection to the pain that people have been through, and yet the glory of Lent and Easter. So I wrote a song called You Can Stand Tall, and I'm going to sing it on Sunday. Just me and the piano, again, as a way to just, it's like a hymn basically, just to sing a new hymn to God. The Bible, I love it in Colossians 3, it says that we should sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs to each other. And so if you're out there listening on this podcast and you write music, I encourage you to write your own songs and send them to me, or if you want to sing them on a Sunday, let's practice them and get your new song up there in front of people. Doesn't always have to be old things that people have written.
No, it could be
before.
somebody that's in the congregation
Yeah.
that has music, or
Yep.
they've done music.
If they've done it, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't even written it, but it's something they love to
Something
sing.
they love.
Yeah.
Maybe
Especially
they-
with the kids here. They love to sing too.
Yeah. So we got beautiful, the school.
Ah, it's so amazing. All the music that's here. Isn't that beautiful? All the
Yeah.
music that's here?
Yeah.
From all different angles, all
It's
ages.
it's an expression.
It's an expression.
Expression of the faith.
Yeah. You know that my father, I guess taking with the music, it's a passion of ours, obviously. My father taught me how to sing. And one of the things that people, say to me, oh, thank you for singing. And I never take it as, oh, I can sing. I'm glad. I always think of my father. And he's not with Jesus. He died of a terrible disease, systemic sclerosis. It's a blood disease that he went down to like 90 pounds. He was a pastor for half of his life. And when he was when I was born, and he was maybe 30 something, he taught me how to sing and play the guitar. And it's amazing that what I remember most about him, besides all his sermons, is him singing with me on Sundays. And then to this day, I have a record, because he and his brother and cousins, it was 4 of them, they had a quartet. And they did records. They have vinyl records that I still have in our home. And I love listening to them to this day, hearing his voice. He was a first tenor. See, I would always hear his beautiful voice up top. And so it inspired me. And then now David, our son, he doesn't sing, but he plays the drums. And he's also heard those records. And so tell me, Tom, about the legacy that you are leaving behind with your kids, of discipleship, of strength in God. What are you leaving your family in terms of your faith in God? What have they learned from you?
Well, Blair, our only son,
Okay.
or as he's referred to as the prodigal
The
son.
prodigal.
They have another
We
term
always have
for it.
one.
They got another term for him.
Yeah.
But he's always his first marriage ended in a divorce, and his first wife did not want any children. Mm-hmm. She was Catholic and he was Lutheran. Mm-hmm. So a few years later, he met this gal through a Christian youth group that where young people would get together.
Yeah.
And have dinner, and he met this gal, Terry, and she has a large family, her family. So Blair, from his experience, or lack of experience, that has meant a lot to him, a family, because he had family with us, but then have a family with another family, which was a great experience for him.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about legacy.
Yeah, it's legacy. So probably the big thing, and I'll say it, make it a little quicker on the other 4, is work ethic.
Okay.
And that's what was instilled in me when I grew up on the farm.
Right.
when I'd get done something, Dad would say, "You know what I need to do, Tommy? We're on the farm. We got jobs to do all the while." So it was, if you didn't, you just don't sit there and wait to somebody. There's things to do. So in life, how true that is. There's things to do. You don't have to be told all the while what to do. So that's what they've got, work ethic in all four kids. If something happened with their job, they found a new job. And we see that with all four of them. And Stephanie, our daughter, she's so involved with Thriving and helping other people with their assets and that. And then Lee, her husband's a Lutheran pastor. So she does things early childhood and also works in the ministry in the city working with young parents. Isn't that beautiful?
Beautiful.
And then Dawn, the other twin, she's had different jobs, but she's never been unemployed.
Praise God.
Isn't that something? So probably that's the big thing is the work ethic that they've, and it wasn't purposely done. That's how I was brought up. And that's how Annis was brought up. It was work ethic. And that's all part of the discipline in our church is ethics. How about that? I worked that in. I don't know how ethics. It's so important. And I think that goes along with those small groups we were talking about. It's reinforcing things like that with them. Especially with a young group of family with kids. They need support, spiritual support.
Without a doubt.
With the way things are going today.
They need a lot of support.
So.
Well, I am so blessed as we wrap up here, Tom. I think my wife has said this to you guys, but she lost her mom and dad about 2 years ago now.
She mentioned that, yeah.
And so when we came here last November, as we were talking, we didn't know anybody, obviously. We were going to a church where I was pastoring. I was a senior pastor there on Bellflower. And that folded during COVID, which was very painful for us. And then Rochelle also lost her job as a principal because this two schools, similar stuff, they folded into one, and she was the odd man out. So we were going through a lot when we came here, kind of needing a lot of support and community. And, we didn't have any small groups at the time that we were a part of here or didn't know anybody. But then, as we often have done, all five of us come every week. The three kids now, as they're older, so our son is at UCSB and he goes to a church there, and our daughters go to Rock Harbor. It's a younger church, so speaking of dating, they also want to be with young people. But sometimes all five of us are here. But the two of us are here, and Rochelle has told me many times how losing her parents has been the worst thing of her life, obviously, especially these last few years. But sitting next to you guys has been almost like a parental
I've noticed that
experience for her,
Yeah, because Annis looks forward to seeing your wife. She does.
I know.
And there's another lady that sits behind us, Cheryl.
Right, I've noticed.
I haven't seen her in the last few Sundays.
Right.
She's such a beautiful person.
She is. We should call her. Find out her info or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we always make it a point, and Annis always makes a point to.
Yeah. There's people, you were saying how small groups, there's another gentleman, young man, his wife sings with me, and I don't know him really well, Kate and her husband, Brian, and then their son does sound, Grant, and they used to come to the school, and then their younger boy comes to the school still. But anyway, so I haven't met him often because he works on Sundays, but he was here yesterday picking up one of his kids. And I just said, "Hey, Brian, how are you?" And as I was driving home yesterday, it's almost like the Holy Spirit was telling me, invite him into a Bible study. I thought, wow, Lord.
We had those studies. They could welcome him.
Yeah.
Because that's a good experience for them. Outreach by growing, by asking. People are so, I don't want to come across, I'm holier than thou. It's the old expression,
Yeah, right, yeah.
holier than thou. But no, you could say, hey, we had this Bible study, and
Right.
what an experience. You get to meet young couples.
Young couples.
Which is, I think, that's the thing. I know a pastor wants to start that, or trying to.
Yeah.
But I think that is a vacuum in our church.
Yes.
Is that right there?
Yeah.
Because there's not. And it can't, like with Bible studies, it's got to be them. Not say, join this old group over here that's been
Right.
together for 40 years.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Wow.
Because they're not thinking the same way.
Yeah.
Not thinking the same way,
That's
or
right.
are used to that type of approach.
Mm-hmm.
Is again, try new things.
Try
If
new
it doesn't
things.
work, try another. Don't
I
give
have.
up. Don't
That's
give
right.
up.
Well, I want to end in that note, my dear Tom, to thank you for your discipleship. In many ways, you guys are our small group, just sitting there on Sundays every week, and we can't wait for more to come. And I look forward to getting to know you and your wife and other people better, so that we can fill that gap that's there and have the next Toms and Davids here in this church for 100 more years. You're going to live to be 95, and I'm hoping I'll catch up to you one day. And so, but we have to pass that baton.
Yes.
And see the new, like I said, us and Rochelle's and Annis's develop now before it's too late. So I look forward to that. Any last words you want to say, Tom, before we go? Anything you want to share with our audience?
Don't give up. God has amazing ways to reach out to you, but you gotta open your ears and talk to Him. He doesn't know if you're interested unless you talk to Him. It doesn't have to be a fancy prayer. It can be from your heart. I think that's what people think. It's got to be some exact prayer. And He answers you in different ways, as I found out.
Wow. Well, thank you again, my brother Tom. What a joy to hang out with you. And to our listeners, to the people watching this on our YouTube page, look forward to more of these conversations. The hope that I have with this podcast is to have you get to know some of the amazing people that we have here at Christ Lutheran here in Costa Mesa, and to invite you to be a part of small groups, of our worship, of Lent that's coming up, Easter. And if you're looking for a place for your kids as well, this is an amazing place of music and teaching and relationships. And we're still figuring it out. We're not there yet. We're still trying to figure out some of these things. So come figure it out with us and help us to honor our King Jesus Christ. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Okay.